Today. Yesterday when we joined you, we told you, wouldn't you love to be a fly on the wall in the cabinet room after Nancy Pelosi has that meeting at 9 o'clock in the morning talking about whether or not to impeach the president. Then at 11 o'clock, they're going to show up and talk about infrastructure and going to just shake hands and say, OK, how do we do this? That was the plan, but that was derailed.
Oh, my goodness. Nancy Pelosi meets with the Democratic caucus members. They talked about impeachment. That was at 9 o'clock. She comes out, she stands up in front of the microphone, and she says the president is involved in a cover-up, knowing she's about to walk over to the White House and sit down with the president and meet face-to-face with him. He wasn't happy with her comments.
He wasn't. So he knew they were going to meet in 2 hours to talk about spending $2 trillion. There would be the chance at bipartisanship and this Democratic House actually getting something done since they took power in 2018 after their election. They've gotten nothing done. All they've done is investigate, and the president's pushed back on all of that. So what happened when they went in? The president didn't ask for input. He went in there and said, you make a choice. You either legislate or investigate. It seems as though they're choosing investigate.
Well, I wanted to talk about infrastructure. I'm really good at that, and we'll play some of that in just a minute.
He was so mad that she said cover up. He went out and he tweeted this. Zero is getting done with the Democrats in charge of the House. All they want is to put the Mueller report behind them. And all they want to do is put the Mueller report behind them, which he says exonerates them, and start all over. No do-overs.
Yeah, so he stood there in front of Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer for about 3 minutes, it's being reported, and he said he was very calm. They're saying something else, but then he walks out to the Rose Garden and he has a press conference. Listen to what he said.
Instead of walking in happily into a meeting, I walk in to look at people that had just said that I was doing a cover-up. I don't do cover-ups. You can go down the investigation track, and you can go down the investment track or the track of let's get things done for the American people. I walked into the room and I told Senator Schumer, Speaker Pelosi, I want to do infrastructure, but you know what? You can't do it under these circumstances. So get these phony investigations over with.
She said it multiple times. We're not going to impeach the president. The country doesn't want that, essentially, even though there's some radicals in her party and there's some others who just want to investigate, from Jerry Nadler to Adam Schiff. They're on the precipice of saying impeach. But we know Ilhan Omar and others saying we should do that. Maxine Waters wakes up in the morning and screams it out. But now it looks like Nancy Pelosi, who's supposed to be so strong and experienced, is capitulating. That's the only way you can. That's the only way you can rationalize what she's been doing. And now, as the day moved on, she's talking about a possible impeachable offense.
Well, there were stories in the morning that congressional White House sources were saying, look, this meeting on infrastructure is not going to go well because the White House and Congress are $1 trillion apart. The White House was going to say, OK, you want so many trillion, we're going to give you $1 trillion less than you want. They were looking for some sort of way to off-ramp, and then the president, here's Nancy Pelosi, call it a cover-up, and that was enough. They said that was why he blew up the meeting. Well, later in the day, she doubled down. Not only was it a cover-up, she used that I word again.
This president is obstructing justice, and he's engaged in a cover-up. And that could be an impeachable offense. Ignoring the subpoenas of Congress was Article 3 of the Nixon impeachment.
It's so interesting because when she was talking about the border, she said, it's not a crisis. Then she later said, I never said that it wasn't a crisis. Then she said impeachment. I don't think it's a good idea if we impeach. She goes into that meeting yesterday. She comes out and she says, this could be an impeachable offense. Whatever they talked about, whoever convinced her, maybe it was AOC and all of her thoughts, because we know that she wants to impeach. Beto O'Rourke has said he wants to impeach. There are many other Democrats. But someone changed her mind and she came out and doubled down last night. We heard her there.
She never did say what the cover-up was.
Right.
Just that there's a cover-up.
Many people think the Democrats were the ones covering this up.
And the president is pushing back everywhere, saying, Don McGahn, you're not testifying. Hope Hicks, you can stay where you are. When it comes to the taxes, we're not going to give in. Deutsche Bank, we're suing you not to give over records. So that's what they're looking at and saying the president's covering something up. When you gave up where the president gave up 2.5 years of his presidency, millions of documents, $30 million of the taxpayer money, and 434 pages, hardly a cover-up. Lindsey Graham, who, to his credit, said, give Robert Mueller room to work, says this is out of control. Listen.
You can say this any way you would like, but here's the bottom line. After 2 years of a political rectal exam, nobody's been looked at more than Trump. They found nothing. But the answer for the Democrats is Trump's got to go. They will not beat him at the ballot box. If they try to impeach him, they're going to ensure his reelection. I want the American people to know that Bob Mueller did his job. He looked at Trump every way you could look at Trump, and he found nothing. And this is just political revenge. It's going to blow up in their face, and I can't wait to 2020.
And see, that's what the next stop is, because they made it pretty effectively clear yesterday. There's not going to be any working together until these investigations are over. But the political game plan is for the investigations to drag right up to the election. They're not going to try to impeach him at this stage. They just want to sully his reputation, make him seem illegitimate. That's his impression that he has made very clear right through the election. And then people will have a choice. If you want the Republicans to get something done, elect more Republicans, the White House would say. Meanwhile, the Democrats are saying, if you want this guy in charge, you got to vote for the other side.
The president, Lindsey Graham, still urging the president to work with Democrats, to work with Congress, to try to get some things done, including infrastructure, even though the president said he's not going to work with them until they end these investigations.
Infrastructure, sadly, could wait. It can wait. What's happening at the border is a flat-out invasion. We are being overwhelmed every day. They need to act in emergency fashion at the border. We cannot wait 2 years. If anyone disagrees, just go down there and see for yourself.